Welcome to our channel, Wise Flow. Have you ever wanted to speak English, but the words just wouldn't come out? You knew exactly what to say in your head, but your mouth refused to move. Maybe you smiled, nodded, and walked away, silent and frustrated. You're not alone. I used to be just like that. Today, I'm going to share something powerful with you. Not a list of tips, not a lecture, a real story, my story. This is the honest journey from fear to fluency. No magic formulas, no instant results. Just small daily steps that led me to confidence. And if I can do it, so can you. Stay with me until the end, because by the time this video finishes, you won't just believe you can speak English. You'll want to start speaking right now. In this 10-part journey, you'll see how I overcame fear, built vocabulary, practiced daily, and finally used English in real life. Whether you're a total beginner or just afraid to speak, this journey will guide you. Each chapter is based on real struggles, real breakthroughs, and real victories. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Trapped in silence. At first, I couldn't say a single word. I could read English. I understood simple phrases. I recognized the words when someone spoke. But when it was time to speak, my mind went blank. My mouth froze. My heart pounded. People would ask me, "Where are you from?" or "How are you?" I knew the answer, but I couldn't say it. It felt like I was trapped inside a silent cage. I had the key, the words, but I couldn't turn the lock. I watched others talk, laugh, and connect. I wanted that. But fear whispered in my ear, "You'll make a mistake. They'll laugh at you." And I believed it. So I stayed silent. I avoided conversations. I became a background character in my own life. There were times I felt invisible, at parties, in classrooms, even at work. I blended into the background. I didn't want to. I just didn't know how to break the silence. One day in a shop, someone asked me, "Can I help you?" I froze. My face went hot. I pointed instead of speaking, paid, walked out. That night I cried. And then I whispered to myself, "Enough. No more silence." The next day I began, and that tiny decision, to begin, was the start of something incredible. You may not see it now, but that decision, to simply try, is what separates fear from fluency. I didn't have a big plan. I didn't know exactly what to do. But I knew I had to stop waiting, because waiting wouldn't make me fluent. I started speaking to my dog. I repeated phrases under my breath. I whispered in the kitchen, in the hallway, and in the bathroom. At first it felt silly, but deep down I knew this was me taking control. It was small, it was private, but it was mine. And every little whisper pushed back the fear just a little more. Because the truth is, fluency begins in silence. And from silence, something powerful can grow. Chapter 2. One word at a time. The next morning I stood in front of the mirror. "Hello?" My voice was shaky. My chest is tight, but I said it again. "Hello?" That was my first win. Then I added more. "My name is..." "I am fine." "How are you?" I said them while walking, while washing dishes, while brushing my teeth. I turned every object in my home into a tool. This is a pen. That is a book. I have a phone. I read simple children's books. The sun is hot. I like cats. Each small win made me braver. Confidence didn't come from grammar. It came from hearing my own voice and trusting it, one word at a time. I celebrated every sentence. I clapped for myself. I smiled at the mirror. I whispered, "Well done." Let's pause here for a moment. Why are we so afraid to speak? Because we tie language to identity, to intelligence, to belong. But not speaking fluently doesn't mean you're not smart. It just means you haven't practiced enough. Yet. Fluency isn't a gift. It's a result. When I finally accepted that progress looks messy, I gave myself permission to be bad at first. So change the story in your head. You're not bad at English. You're becoming good at English. You're a learner, and learners grow. Every word you say, no matter how small, is a step toward the speaker you want to become. You don't need to speak perfectly. You just need to keep speaking. Even today, I still learn new words. I still pause, hesitate, and sometimes forget. But now I smile and keep going. Because one word at a time, I built a voice I'm proud of. Each sentence is a brick. Each day is a layer. And before you know it, you've built a house of fluency. I didn't learn thousands of words overnight. I just kept showing up. Every day, even if it was just 5 minutes, I said something out loud, no matter how simple. The key was repetition, saying the same phrase until it became automatic. I am learning. I am improving. I can speak. Speak it. Believe it. Become it. Chapter 3. Finding my voice in everyday life. Now that I could say a few words, I needed to use them, not just in the mirror, but out in the real world. That's when I set a new goal. Say one sentence to a real person each day. The first time, I went to a coffee shop. My hands were shaking as I stood in line. I repeated my sentence in my head. 1 coffee, please. It sounds simple, right? But to me, it was Everest. When my turn came, I whispered it. The barista smiled. Sure, anything else? I panicked and shook my head. No? Then I grabbed my coffee and rushed out. But I did it. I spoke. I used English in public. I was terrified, but also proud. The next day I went to a shop. Where's the milk? I asked. Then, a week later, how much is this? Each tiny moment became part of a bigger story. I was no longer just learning English. I was living it. That's the turning point. When you stop treating English as a subject in school and start treating it as a tool for connection, everything changes. I started talking to strangers, not long conversations, just moments. But those moments mattered. Every time I said something, even if I made mistakes, I felt a little stronger. I also changed how I listened. I watched people, listened to how they ordered food, how they greeted each other, and how they asked for help. I repeated those phrases at home. Soon I created a notebook called Real Life Phrases. I wrote down everything useful. Do you have this in a larger size? I'm just looking, thank you. Can I have the bill, please? I practiced these like magic spells, and eventually they became part of me. You don't need thousands of words to speak English. You just need the right ones, the ones you'll actually use. And the only way to discover them is to live your language. Take it with you. Into the bus, into the market, into your daily routine. One sentence at a time. Chapter 4. Mistakes are my teachers. Here's the truth that sets me free. You can't learn to speak without making mistakes. Let me tell you what happened once. I was trying to say, I'm full after dinner with friends, but I said, I'm a fool. Everyone laughed. Not mean laughter, friendly, warm laughter. But I wanted to disappear. Later, a friend gently explained the difference. Full versus fool. I repeated the word, laughed with them, and never forgot that lesson. That's when I realized every mistake is a gift. It shows you what to fix. It sticks in your memory, and it proves that you're trying. Children don't learn to speak by being perfect. They fall. They mispronounce. They laugh. And they keep going. So I gave myself permission to be like a child. I mispronounced words. I mixed up tenses. I forgot the names of things. But every time I made a mistake, I learned something new. Mistakes gave me stories, and stories stick better than rules. I stopped apologizing for my English. I started celebrating my courage. Because let's be honest, speaking another language is brave. You're stepping outside your comfort zone. You're reaching out. You're learning to be vulnerable, and that's beautiful. Now, when someone corrects me, I smile, because I know it's another step forward. There is no fluency without failure. Embrace it. Chapter 5. Building my practice routine. By now, I had some confidence, but I wanted more. So I created a system, a daily routine that kept me moving forward, even on hard days. I called it my 3-3-3 rule. 3 minutes of listening, 3 minutes of speaking, 3 minutes of reading aloud, 9 minutes total. That's all, but it made a huge difference. In the morning, I listened to an English podcast for 3 minutes while brushing my teeth or making tea. Then I spoke about my plans for the day. I will go to work. I need to buy groceries. I have a meeting. Finally, I opened a book or a blog and read one paragraph aloud. That was my core habit, and it worked. On busy days, I did just that. On free days, I added more, journaling in English, describing objects in my room, and recording myself speaking and listening back. Consistency matters more than intensity. 5 minutes. That's it. Try it now. Pause this video and speak one sentence out loud, right now. It counts. I also tracked my progress in a journal. I wrote down new words I learned, situations where I used English, and how I felt. Some days I felt proud. Some days I felt stuck. But writing helped me notice patterns. And slowly, my brain stopped translating. English became more natural. Practice doesn't make perfect. Practice makes it permanent. And my routine turned English from something I feared into something I lived. Chapter 6. Conversations that changed everything. Up until this point, my English journey was mostly a solo mission, but one conversation changed everything. I met a tourist at a bus stop. She looked lost, so I said, "Do you need help?" She smiled and said, "Yes, thank you." "I'm trying to get to the museum." I froze for a second. Then, slowly, I replied, "Go straight. Turn right. The museum is near the bank." It wasn't perfect, but she understood. She thanked me, and we started chatting. Just small talk. Weather, her country. Why was she visiting? That 5-minute conversation taught me more than a week of study. Why? Because I was using real language in a real situation. So I looked for more moments like that. I volunteered at a local event. I joined an online English chat group. I visited tourist spots and offered help. And for the first time, I realized people don't care if you're perfect. They care if you're kind, open, and willing to try. Some of these conversations were short, others lasted an hour. But each one stretched my confidence and vocabulary. I learned to ask questions to keep conversations going. What do you do? Where are you from? How long will you stay? I also practiced active listening. I didn't need to understand every word. I focused on the main idea, the emotion, body language. These small conversations were my training ground. They reminded me that English is not just grammar and vocabulary. It's a connection. It's courage. It's a curiosity. Chapter 7. The Plateau and the Push-Through. After months of progress, I hit a wall. I could speak. I could listen. But suddenly, I wasn't improving. I kept using the same words, same phrases, same mistakes. I felt stuck. That's what we call the plateau. It happens to everyone. The beginning is fast, but then growth slows down. I almost gave up. But instead, I asked myself, what's missing? The answer? Challenge? So I raised the bar. I started watching movies in English, first with subtitles, then without. I read articles on topics I cared about, travel, psychology, and success stories. I joined an online language exchange. Once a week, I spoke with a native speaker. It was terrifying and powerful. I also recorded myself speaking about random topics, my day, my favorite book, and a childhood memory. Then I listened back, cringed, took notes, re-recorded, improved. Pushing through the plateau means leaving your comfort zone, again. So I stopped being afraid of big words. I looked them up, used them in a sentence, repeated them the next day. My vocabulary started growing again. My confidence deepened. I started thinking in English, not just translating. The plateau was real, but so was the push. Chapter 8. English in my identity. One day, something strange happened. I was having lunch with friends, and I used an English word without realizing it. They looked confused. I laughed and translated. That's when I knew English wasn't just a subject anymore. It has become part of my identity. I started dreaming in English. I thought in English. I wrote personal notes in English. It didn't mean I forgot my native language. It meant I had added a new voice, a new way to express myself. This was more than learning. It was a transformation. I began seeing the world differently. New cultures, new ideas, new possibilities. English opened doors to friendships, to content, to opportunities. I started helping others who were beginning. I shared my story, gave them tips, encouraged them to keep going. And I realized language isn't just about speaking. It's about belonging. Now, English wasn't something I was learning. It was something I was living. Chapter 9. Speaking in Public. This was my final test. I was invited to speak on stage at a community event. Just a small talk, 5 minutes, but all in English. I was terrified. I practiced for weeks, rehearsed every sentence, recorded myself. I corrected myself. On that day, I stood there, heart racing, hands cold, and I began. My voice trembled at first, but then it grew stronger. I told my story, the same story I'm telling you now. When I finished, the audience clapped. Some even stood, not because my English was perfect, but because my message was real. I walked off the stage shaking and smiling. That moment changed everything. I felt like I had conquered my fear. I had proven to myself that I could do it, not just in front of one person, but in front of many. Chapter 10. The journey continues with you. So here we are, from hello to public speaking, from fear to fluency, from silence to sharing. But the journey isn't over, because language is not a destination. It's a road. Every day I still learn something new, a new phrase, a new way to say something, a new mistake to laugh at. And now, it's your turn. Don't wait for the perfect time. Don't wait until you feel ready. Start with one word, one sentence, one smile. Speak to yourself. Speak to your mirror. Speak to a stranger. And when you feel afraid, remember this story. Remember, your story is just beginning. English is not just for exams or jobs. It's for you, for connection, for courage, for confidence. So go out there, live your English, love your English, share your English. The journey continues, and I'm walking beside you. If this journey moved you, don't keep it to yourself. Share this video. Comment below. What chapter are you in? What fear are you facing? And subscribe, because this is more than a channel. It's your community. We're not just learning words here. We're changing lives, one voice at a time. Let's speak. Let's grow. Let's begin together.